to the Liberating Humanity podcast. My name is Paul Hutchinson. I'm the host, and my favorite person on the planet is my guest today. It's my wife, and I think you're going to love her. In fact, some of you have heard the story. I'm just going to quickly tell it because it's my favorite. So I stole Superman's girlfriend. Wasn't really his girlfriend, but I'll just tell you this. So Henry Cavill, look him up. He's the actor who plays Superman. You know, he's known by his big pecs, and he's a great actor. He's a good guy. Well, he was at Vanessa's work. I called her Vanessa. Her real name is Hada Vanessa. You can look her up online, Hada, Hada Vanessa. But he was at her work almost every day. They started to date. She decided that wasn't the right one. I stole Superman's girlfriend. So that's my mic drop. Boom. So anyway, thank you. You love that story.
No.
Now, here's the thing. Here's what you have to ask yourself. Not only what kind of a man do I need to be in my life? What kind of principles do I need to be living? What kind of things do I need to show up for to be able to qualify for a woman like that in my life? And secondly, what kind of a woman does she need to be to have a person like Henry Cavill be interested in dating her? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. We're going to go into her past, her passions, her heart, who she is, what makes her the amazing mother and the amazing wife that she is, and how we got brought together. She's now the executive director of the Child Liberation Foundation. She works tirelessly every single day in helping the foundation move forward. In fact, I'll tell one other story, and then we're going to go into her life. One of my favorite stories about her, and you may have heard this before as well, is one where soon after we were dating, we were going to go to a gala. And this was a really nice one. I was going to wear my tuxedo, and she needed to wear a gala dress. And we went to the store to find a gala dress, and I found a beautiful one. It was about $2,000 for this gala dress. And I was going to get it checked out, and she, I wasn't caring about the price. And she pulls up the tag, and she looks at the tag, and she looks at me, and she said, "Paul, what is the average cost to rescue a trafficked child?" And I said, "It's about $2,000. She said, "I'm not wearing a child. We can buy a $2,000 dress. We can buy a $200 dress instead. And we can donate the rest of the money to charity." And that told me that would be my future wife. So thank you.
Love you.
Love you. Thanks for being here today. I adore you. And
Ditto.
I'm so, so grateful for you, for your heart, for everything that you brought into my life. Let's go back. Let's go back to way before I knew you. You grew up in New York, right?
Yeah, I was in New York. I was born and raised in New York. My parents are Colombian, but my mother always kept it very Colombian inside the house. As a matter of fact, I've said this to you before. In the house, we weren't able to speak English or watch any English TV or radio or anything like that. She would take books, and she had a whole wall full of books in Spanish. And she would sit in a sofa just like this, and there would be the four of us. And usually there was another kid that, was hanging out at the house. There were always other kids in the house. And she would take the books and read the back of the books and tell us what the book was about. And then we had to choose the book. She had this fascinating way of telling you she was a storyteller like you. And she would tell us what the book was about, and you got to pick a book, and then after you read it, you got to tell her a summary of the book, and you had to write a summary. And if you misspelled grammar or anything, you had to write the whole paper again, not just correct the word. So my Spanish is better than my English.
Telling me the other day that you want to write a book about things you learned from your mother.
Oh my gosh, she has so many sayings.
Well, it's not just sayings, it's how you live your life. What are some of the sayings or things that you learned from your mom that you attribute most of your happiness and success in life to?
Well, you know what? You just told the story about the dress. She used to always say, the dress doesn't make you. You make the dress. It's not about what you're paying for the dress. It's how you carry it. It's how you dress. It's how and for everything. Like she had a saying for everything when it came to friends and who you hang out with. Tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. And I always say that one. So I keep very picky when it comes to the people that I surround myself with, who I call my friends. She was just love, everything she did it with love. She used to always tell us about your body is sacred, you know, and she called it the tesorito, the little treasure. And you have to take care of your little treasure, It's not just to be giving it around. And just just everything that she did it with so much love. That I'm grateful that I got to have her as being my mom, because the way I I give her the credit for the way that I live my life when it comes to living it from the place of my heart. I love the way that she raised us. Everything, even if we didn't have a lot, you didn't feel it because she always made a happy environment around you. And I remember there were some years that we didn't have Christmas trees. So she went out and she took some branches and she spray painted them with paint. And then she drew like little decorations and hang them on the tree. And it was the cutest tree ever. And, she always made it so happy and warm and loving to be around. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I have the relationship I have with baby, my daughter, our daughter, and why I choose to live my life. There has been things that we all live through and obstacles in our life, but I always choose to live it from how they say, don't look at the half cup empty, but the half cup full. I choose to live it that way because it takes the same amount of effort. And if you choose to be grateful and just choose to be happy for what you do have, instead of complaining or longing or wishing things that are not in your life yet, you can be happy no matter what you have or no matter what you don't have. I love my mama.
She's amazing. And I wish I had a chance to meet her before she passed away. But we take her with us everywhere. We get stopped at all the airports for a little medal.
So she got cremated. And I have this little, what do you call urn?
An urn. Uh-huh.
An urn thing that is probably like this size. And there's a little bit of her there. And she liked traveling. So I actually take that with me everywhere
We spread
go.
her everywhere. She's been to Venice. She's been all over the world.
Like Venice was a place she always wanted to go to, but she passed before she went there. So when we were there, I was like, Mommy. And I sprayed a little bit of her at the Isis, the Temple of Isis, and in Venice. And when we went to Thailand, because it was such a beautiful land, and pretty much everywhere we go, she's with me.
One of the things that set you apart from even your siblings was the fact that you had really big dreams, and you didn't let the world or even your family tell you that you couldn't do them. You just kind of decided, hey, I'm going to go for this. Where did that come from?
I don't know where it came from. I wasn't raised to thinking, I was raised more like, go to school and go to college and get your job and, probably buy your house and have your kids. But it was never enough. And I've I've never really followed the rules, or at least the rules that we've been told that are the rules to follow. And I got criticized for it for most of my life. And
even in a marriage that wasn't going where it was, everybody told you.
Yeah, I remember I wasn't happy. I turned 30 and I wasn't happy. I just, it's not like he beat me, or it's not like I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. And I started asking around my aunts, my friends that were married, everybody that was around me, even my mother that were married. I started asking them, I don't feel happy, like I'm not fulfilled. And I'm thinking that I want to separate, but I don't know what to do. And they were like, well, it's not always, it's not like the movies, because they all knew that I wanted to be an actress. It's not like the movies and you live happily ever after. That's just the way it is. And then, you just help each other out. If this is what people tell you that that's what it is, and then I get to that space and it's not enough for me, I need to continue. And if I would have had to continue to search for my no blender guy, but I found you. So
What does a no blender mean?
yeah, no blender means that I used to say, in order for me to find the perfect man, I need to put like 10 of them in a blender, and maybe they have all it takes for my perfect guy. So I thought I was going to be a dog lady.
Well,
and I was
see,
okay with that.
right on that. When you said I'm okay with that, it's not like you've been unhappy. Each area of your life,
Mhm.
when you were broke, when you were trying to figure out how to feed your daughter, you're working 3 jobs, you still had a really positive attitude about where you were, but you held on to a dream of something better, of something greater, and you wanted to be an actress,
Yes.
right? What happened there? What did everybody tell you, and then what did you do?
Not only that, I mean, I got told, when I finally did it, so I get divorced. Everybody's like, this is just the way it is. This is just the way it is. It was right before hitting 30. And when I hit 30, I was like, I don't want to be 40 and feeling this way. It was like the 30 didn't, not the age 30. I have embraced every decade. I'm looking forward to my 50s because every decade it gets better and better. It wasn't that, it was my happiness. I didn't feel fulfilled. And so, I told him, because I love him as a person, and I said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And there's actually a book called that way, and he bought it for me, which I never read it, but, it was enough for me to just feel, and I just wasn't there. And I soon started pursuing my acting career because he didn't want me acting either. He didn't show any interest for it. It was always, it was always criticized as, you have a daughter, you know, it's not your time anymore. Like, it's not about you anymore. It's about her. But what am I teaching her if I sacrifice my dreams, for her? It will be almost like I'm blaming her for whatever I don't accomplish. And that's a burden on children. I don't want her to feel like I left everything because of her. So I took a stand of no. I'm going to show her that you should follow your dreams. And it was truly the way I felt. Instead of her being a burden or a sacrifice for me not to pursue my dreams, she was my fuel. She still is my fuel for life. Like, it was like, for her, I need to show her that if you have dreams, you should totally follow them. That kids, instead of taking you away from what you want, they should be the inspiration. And she's always been the inspiration for me to follow my dreams, to do better in life, to watch the decisions that I make, because the kids don't do what you tell them to do. Kids do what you do. If you start looking at your children and the way they behave, they mimic a lot of the things that you do. And so a lot of my inspirations for not giving up, for for working 3 jobs, for doing whatever, it was her. She was my fuel. She was my reason. She was my purpose. And so, but I got told the opposite. I got told, you're so selfish. It's not time for you. It's time for you to dedicate to her. I wasn't taking away time from her. And I love that she supports me 100%. And there have been times, like twice, that I wanted to leave that on the side, because pursuing an acting career is hard. It's hard. It's just, especially in New York, where everybody goes to New York to follow, acting, it's saturated. So they treat you like crap and whatever. So I know there were at least 2 times that I said, I'm just going to push this on the side. And she goes, no, mom. You already fought so much. You're not going to give up now. No, and it's beautiful to have her be that person that tells me, no, you're not going to stop now. After everything we've been through, you keep going. And I was like,
your
okay.
relationship with her right now is beautiful. So many. Now, I will say this, there are guys, I've seen them in my career and even myself for a while, who it was the pursuit of the almighty dollar. And then, and we didn't spend the quality time with the kids when we needed to at some point. There's a lot of people who will completely sacrifice their family for their own selfish desires, but that wasn't you. You included her. You took her to everything. She was with you there, and your relationship with her is so special because of the fact that when you weren't auditioning, when you weren't trying out, when you weren't acting, you were focused on being the best mom you can be, and it shows. And it's super beautiful to see the amazing relationship that you guys have today with that. So you realize that Colombia, that it might be an opportunity for you to pursue your acting career in Colombia. And so you moved from New York to Colombia, and your whole family is like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was crazy. Nobody moves from New York to Colombia to pursue acting. It was, and I know it sounded out of control and crazy. So my brother-in-law back then, he was a rapper and he did a tour, and his last country was Colombia. I was supposed to move to LA because I said, I can't do it in New York because I have too many ties in New York, too many distractions. So I was going to go to LA. And he comes back from Colombia like December 15, and he's like, don't go to LA. You got to go study your acting in Colombia. And I'm like, you crazy. And he's like, no, look, I went to see this play, and the director of the play has a school, and he's amazing. And I was like, you're crazy. And he goes, just talk to him. And his name is Tao, and he has a school in Colombia, an acting school. And I say, you know what? I'll talk to him. It doesn't cost me anything. 2.5 hours later, my entire plans changed from moving to LA to moving to Colombia.
Now, were you traveling with J Balvin at the time?
I actually met him through my brother-in-law.
Okay, the same one, right?
Yeah, because they were rappers, and back then Jay was also starting. This is, talking about like 15 years ago, 2010. And my brother had been rapping, like he kind of brought rapping, my brother-in-law, to Colombia. They're the ones that started the rapping era back then.
Now
he was just getting
world star.
I know.
So, you traveled all around with them.
I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him. Because it's, the entertainment is a hard industry. And so I spoke to him for 2.5 hours, and me improvised to Vanessa. I'm going to Colombia. And first I was going 6 months. So I wasn't taking baby with me because it was 6 months. It makes no sense to take her out of school. Once I was there.
Her name is Kira. She calls her baby because she's her baby still.
She'll be my baby. She is more mature than, she's like 26 going on 90, her maturity and her wisdom. And she's always been like this, and the way she lives life with such genuine soul and heart. That's my biggest achievement in life. Just her. She means the world to me. You both mean the world to me. When 4 months later, I'm doing plays and I'm doing commercials, and I'm like, I'm doing what I love. And I said, well, why would I leave? Like, this is everything that I've been, and everything is just like moving. So I decided I was going to stay, and I called baby and I told her that when she was done with school in June, I wanted her to go. And it was like the 4 years that I was there, it was like a back and forth. She would come and then she wanted to go back, and she would come and when she was in Colombia, she was in bilingual. But it's hard for her to, even though she spoke Spanish, because when she was little, I always brought her to Colombia to learn the language, kind of like what my mother did. I think it's such an advantage for you to speak 2 languages and to know your culture. It opens up your views on everything, in life culturally. And so she spoke the language. It got much better when she started going to school there, of course. But anyway, so we were in Colombia, and everything started just moving. For me, Colombia felt slower pace, because I'm a New Yorker. So I was like doing one thing here and one thing there and doing auditions and signing up things. I started taking pictures of all of my students in the school that I was in and photo shoots, and made a resume for them and helped them go to agencies that I would just Google and find. So and then eventually, and we'll get into that later, I opened up an agency, but I was always busy and doing things. And I don't know if it was my energy of my moving around. I was getting a lot of gigs. I was working all the time. So I didn't want to go back because I was achieving so much more than when I was in New York that it felt silly to go back to New York. And I know the language, so why not?
You were in Coors to Huggies to, everything, all these advertisements. And then you got on all the soap operas.
Yeah.
You were super, what is it, La Bruja? What are all the soap operas in the TV
La
series you're
Bruja,
in?
El Ídolo. I was in some of the series, Decisiones, and on lots of commercials. There was one point that I remember one of my roommates said to me, I lived with like 8 roommates. We were all in the same school. And he said to me, vieja. They called me vieja because I was the oldest in the house. I was at least 10 years
I
older
have
than
no idea what
everybody else
vieja
in the
means.
house. Vieja means old,
Oh.
like old lady. But in Colombia, vieja is an endearment term for like your mother. And he goes, vieja, I can't look anywhere because I see your face. And, it hit me at that moment. I was like, oh, that's so cool,
I want to talk about 2 things that I think are super important in this time of your life. Okay. Yeah. One of which is your heart, your charity work. Mm-hmm. And the other is how that momentum got stopped from, unfortunately what happens in a lot of cases in Hollywood. Yeah. So tell me what happened. You were in all the TV stuff, and then and what's common in that industry, and what stopped it for you? And you said, no, I'm not that kind of a woman.
What's common in that industry, and from what I've learned from a lot of friends that are musicians, is a lot of people sleep themselves, to getting gigs and getting jobs. And I was 32 when I started this. I have my baby. I have my career. I was doing this for passion. It's never been for me. My drive to being an actress wasn't to be famous per se, have your face all over the place. I'll tell you where that came from. And I'm going to go back to when I think I was about 13. And I was working at a candy stand in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, at a movie theater. And we got to see whatever movies we could. And the movie Philadelphia played. And when we were little, my parents didn't really take us to the movies. So these are all things that, I started, like I said, there was no English at home or anything. And I saw the movie, and it brought me so many emotions, and I cry, and I'm super sentimental. So, and I cried, and I said, I love that, because it was a movie where the guy had a hard time, and Denzel Washington was, the lawyer and helped him. He had AIDS, and it just brought so much emotion to me. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to make movies that, change people's emotions and inspire you. It was a very inspirational movie. And that movie was really the one that inspired me to be an actress. It's never been, I want to be famous. I have zero interest. I don't care. I really don't. Being able to forward that message, to inspire people, to motivate people to things. So when I'm there, I'm still in the same boat. I don't want to do this because I'm famous, and I'm good at it. So I had recorded one of the soap operas, and and I don't know anybody, and I'm super friendly. I'm from New York, and the guy that was in charge of the channel kind of wanted to get me in bed. And this is after I had done my first soap opera, and it went great. And so the director that was filming there had another soap opera they were recording after. So they sent me the script. They asked me if I want to do it. I was like, well, I was going to go to Colombia, but if I have more gigs, I have no reason to. Going back to New York, I have no reason to go back to New York. I'll stay for work. And so I had already settled, sent all my stuff to Colombia so I can stay there for good. And then he started coming on and started doing weird things, and just that indeed a proposal that if I want to indeed do all these other things, that I have to sleep with him. And I'm a New Yorker, so I won't say the word here, but I say you can F yourself.
She said the same thing that Elon said to the Disney exec.
I'm a fan of Elon.
You can F yourself.
And then, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I got banned. This is the biggest channel in Colombia. I got banned. So the same guys that went to the same school and stuff, they were like, hey, you didn't show up for this, for this casting, and you didn't show up for that audition. And I'm like, but they text me the night before not to go. They will email me. They will text me. They will tell me that it was moved or it was canceled. I made a phone call to the director of casting because I knew him. He saw me at a play. That's how I ended up doing, in the movies. I didn't have an agent or anything. And I said, this is going on. And he didn't exactly tell me no because he didn't want to lose his job, and he didn't know if I was going to be crazy. But he let me understand that is what was happening. And so I opened up a casting agency.
See, this is what I love about you. So the average person will be like, oh, put your tail, like a dog, put their tail between their legs and oh dear, and walk off. No, you're not. You're like, hey, you know what? I'm here. I'm Hada Vanessa, and I'm here. And so you opened up your own agency. Now this is an agency. That's where the networks get their talent from, right?
Yeah.
So you open up your own. Did you have 3 or 4 girls working for you? How big did that get?
In less than a year, it was, I don't even know. It was almost like a miracle. I would do audition. I started doing auditions, and it was through WhatsApp back then, through the BlackBerry, and you could do broadcasting. And it was this guy that I did commercials with that they casted me, and I was in like 3 or 4 with him, and he was like, "I've never seen you before, but lately, I've done 4 commercials with you." So we became friends. He was the owner of the thing, and I gave him my number. One day he goes, "Hey, do you know?" It was funny. He goes, "They were doing a commercial. He needed a midget, a really, really ugly guy, and a bald, short, chubby guy." And I thought he was kidding. And he's like, "No, I'm serious. I'll pay you for it." And I was like, "Cool." And I go to the market where like, where are you going to find the uglies and, the chubby bald guy? I started going to the market, and I had my little Canon camera, digital, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing a commercial. I'm casting. You interested?" And right then and there, we would do it. And there was a club that I used to go to that was crossover, and they were twin midgets. And I was friends with them, and I was like, "I got the midget." And the ugly guy was easy. And it was so funny because the ugly guy that I sent was so ugly that the guy called me back and he goes, "It needs to be like TV ugly." And I was like, "Okay, got you." So that was my first
So you built a
gig.
casting agency full of midgets and ugly guys, or?
It was
No,
so
you had
crazy.
a casting agency with
No,
a
I
whole
started
bunch
with
of
that. That was
beautiful
my
people.
first gig, and I got paid for it. And then he kept calling me, and I kept providing. And then he said, "How would you feel about opening a casting agency together?" And I was like, "That sounds good." And now I'm not working because I'm being blacklisted from everything. Less than a year, I had like 2,700 people.
Isn't there some like Miss Americas or something?
Yeah, the Colombian girl that was mistakenly crowned. I met her when she was like 17. Beautiful, beautiful. And there was another one that was working for Victoria's Secrets. I mean, beautiful, beautiful girls, super talented people. And I realized, because I was on the actress side, that the agencies pay you, like, say, for example, just to give a number, if the gig is $100, they'll take 80 and pay the extra, the supporting guy 20. And I thought it was so unfair because I was on the actress side. So I made it different. I made it a 30-70, and they would get 70 and I would get 30 as an agency. And so I had all kinds of good looking people, and all I had to do literally was send a broadcast on my BlackBerry. And like this, you will have auditions out the door, hundreds of people. That's how I was able to get so many people, 2,700 in less than a year. I remember once we were doing a beer commercial, and we thought it was over 21. And they're in the middle of shooting. A lot of the actors were under 25 because we thought it was 21 and over. It was 25 and over. So he's in the middle of shooting. The whole thing is there, and they have no actors. So he says, "Hey, I'm in the middle of shooting, and this is what happened." And I said, "Let me see what I can do." I send the broadcast. In less than half an hour, they had almost 100 people show up, and he was like, "Send the cancellation note. This is getting too full." And what happened to me with being blacklisted fueled me. I was mad. And I was like, "Well, I ain't going down." And this is why I put so much effort in, and I didn't know what I was doing. But I figured it out. I mean, it can't be too hard. I have been to so many auditions that I was on the other side, and my partner had a production company. So that helped a lot.
As we're fighting child trafficking, and we're trying to identify where all this crap is coming from. Your boss and any boss, anybody who's in a position of power, who decides to exert their sexual dominance over people who are below them, or to use sex in a way as a bribe, is, in my opinion, they're playing in the same sandbox as these traffickers. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to call it like it is. They may not be selling children. Oh, I didn't cross that line. Yeah. What lines did you cross?
Mm-hmm.
Are you operating out of a place of integrity? Are you living in a way where you can say, yes, I'm honoring the sexual intimacy within the bounds of my relationship, of my marriage, et cetera, or am I using it as some kind of a manipulation tool? And I've said this before as well, and I think it's important, is that as I did undercover work, and we're going to get into this in a bit, where you actually went undercover with some of the missions, but in all the missions that I've done, the common thread between all these traffickers was arrogance and greed and lust, and that arrogance and greed for that sexual gratification that boss wanted. And for you men that are watching right now, even women, you have to take a look in the mirror. All of us do. Okay. I'm not preaching from a high horse, right? I'm not saying, oh, I'm perfect. I've lived my life at some points in my life where I was out of integrity in that space as well. This song in the 80s. I don't remember what the song was, but it's who do you want me to be to make you sleep with me? You're my obsession. But the juxt of that song, who do you want me to be to make you sleep with me? Really, how about you be authentic? How about you be you? How about you have those healthy sexual relationships in your life that are built on trust, they're built on true love, not being this fake version of whatever else, or using your power or your influence to try to force somebody to do things that they're uncomfortable doing. And I that's an important principle here that you've gone through many times in your life. It wasn't just that one. There were times in New York where you had bosses who tried to push themselves on you, put you in very uncomfortable positions where you thought, my life could be in danger if I don't do something. Right?
There was actually one particular one, and I'm not by any means saying I've been a saint all my life. I haven't. But gosh, sometimes you look out there and you see, what women and men are behaving like, and it's sad to see how this sexuality is being pushed, I've also had my moments where, I was single and maybe, I wasn't perfect and I made a wrong decision. But overall, in the way that you live your life, we have to be so much more intentional in the way that we do it. There was one particular moment when I was in New York and I was working at a club and I was new. And I'm going to mention this one. I was cocktail waitress. I would bring the bottles and it was a really, really high-end place. And I was new, and there was a table of owners, which wasn't in my section to take care of. And the manager told me that she wants me to take care of the table. Now, before this, I didn't know what the trend was there. And I go and I'm taking care of them. And then later on, she tells me, oh, one of the owners needs to go to the office. Can you please take them? And this is a guy that was at least 6'2". And he was one of the owners. And he's all coked up and, drinking. And I take them to the office. And we walk in and then he locks the door behind them. Listen, I'm little, but I can be very, very ferocious. Okay. And that's, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting. Right. So he starts offering me, money to do oral sex on him. And I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to say no. And he starts getting really aggressive. And this is a big guy. And I don't have my cell phone on me because I was working. And so I look around because you're not going to take advantage of me. And there was an empty wine glass. And in my head, I ran through the whole thing. Because I was trying to manage the situation and tell him to get out. And we're there like around 15 minutes. That's a long time when you're feeling unsafe and when you feel like you're about to get raped or abused or something. And I saw the glass of wine and I said, well, if this guy gets, handy, I was like, I'm gonna break the glass and I'm gonna cut him up, and but he's not taking advantage of me, you know. But I also I needed the job because I'm a single mother, right? And I needed the money, and I'm trying to handle the situation in a way. He offered me up to 10 grand to go, you know, give him oral sex, and I'm so pissed, right? Because I'm trying to be polite and I don't know what to do. And you're too big, so I can't like punch you. And like, you're not letting me out. Finally, I was able to convince, you know, to like move him out of the way. And I quickly ran to the door and ran out and went to the manager and tried to tell her. And she's like, oh, no, everything's good. Everything's okay. Don't worry. He was only kidding. And then I'm obviously, you know, agitated. And there was a bouncer that worked there that I had worked with in another place. And I go, and he said to me, what's wrong? Are you okay? You seem agitated. And I told him what happened. And he goes, these assholes, they do it all the time. All the new girls, they do the same thing to them. He goes, I'm proud of you for running out. Usually the girls take the 10 grand. And I'm like, and I quit that night, you know, because I didn't have the support from the managers. It was completely out of integrity. Like, they didn't give a shit, you know, what I told them or how I felt or how scared, you know, I was. Like, I feared, you know, that something was going to happen. And it worried me even more that I was willing to break the glass of wine and slice him with it if I needed to, because I would have. Before he touched me, it would have happened. And this is something that happens all the time, not only in the club business, but in every business, everywhere. You know, women get violated and abused for, especially if it's a single mother or you need the job, they try to take advantage of you that way. And it's not right. And you're saying it is the same energy as trafficking, thinking that you have the right to take advantage of someone else's body, that you can mandate that you're bigger than that because you have a couple dollars extra. And it's not right. And in Liberating Humanity, part of what I want to do is, you know, teach these principles to girls, because yes, that's happening. But what I see nowadays also is that girls are selling their bodies. You know, they're looking at themselves as an object that they can make money out of it. And they're not feeling themselves as sacred and, you know, giving that honor to themselves and to their body and looking at themselves from a different perspective. It's not about tits and ass, you know. Like, there's so much more to all of us, whether you're a guy or a woman. There's so much more than you can give, and externalizing everything and thinking that just what you look like outside is the value that you have. It doesn't matter if social media is telling you that or if movies are telling you that, you know. We need to understand that we're so much more than that. So much more than that. And that is something that I want us to teach through Liberating Humanity, because this is something that I see more and more growing as a trend. And I get it, you know, like, if you're growing up and you're a teenager and your family is not paying attention to you because they're working to give you materialistic everything that you need, and now life is so expensive, you're really being raised in school and through social media and movies and music, and they're not giving the right message. They're really not. And us as adults and as parents need to start taking the wheel on raising our children and even looking at ourselves. Because our generation, our age of people, we're doing the same. You know, we're selling our bodies. You know, we're selling an image that is not true and genuine. And this is something we have to turn around somehow. And so I love that we're having these conversations, because I know there's a lot of people out there that have gone through these things and maybe have taken the wrong decision. And it's okay if they did. You know, we all make mistakes and we learn from that mistakes. And if that didn't make you feel right, now you know what to do next time. And now you know that it's okay to say no and to get upset and to move on to another job or something else that fits the person that you are and your mission and your purpose. And, you know, what do you want to be part of? Do you really want to be part of that new trend that's growing out there, that is sending out the message that selling your body is the way to go? Because when you have kids, that's what your kids are going to do. They're going to do what you do. They're not going to do what you tell them. And if you think that that's worth it for the money because you have a child to feed, there's many, many, many things that you can do to feed a child. I worked in construction, like as a construction worker. Like,
This is actually kind of cool. I mean,
I just had so many flashes when I said that.
You're 5 foot nothing. You're 106 pounds on your heavy days, right? And you're back in New York after leaving Columbia. Your daughter, she wanted to go to high school. She wanted to finish high school in New York.
College.
She wanted to go to college in New York. And yes, she's got college-age kids. She's actually almost 50. She looks gorgeous. But you go to New York and you're like, okay, I can't really, make a living in New York to be able to pay for a New York lifestyle as a struggling actress. I mean, you were successful in Columbia, but it was harder in New York. You came back and there was a lot of different jobs. And so you got a job driving like on a construction, like all the bridges, right?
Yeah, I worked in all the East Side bridges of New York. I did it for 3+ years. And so this is the thing. We started at 6 and we were done by 1 p.m. So I was like, great. I get to go do all my auditions because I just came back from Colombia, from being everywhere, doing soap operas, doing commercials, having my agency. So I was like, I need to continue this momentum. I was like, I can't get a 9 to 5 because I won't be able to do it. And, and I didn't exactly want to go back to the nightlife because you wake tired. It's really exhausting. I had an opportunity to work construction and it paid good, and I had insurance and I wanted insurance for the baby. So I said, yes.
You started out as a flag girl, and then after about a week, you're like, no,
what a nightmare.
Screw this. I'm teaching you how to drive the trucks.
I'm too hyper for this. I got way too much energy for this. So I started as a flag girl, like the second, third day in. I tell Steve, my foreman, I was like, Steve, can you show me what these guys are doing? I can't do, because you couldn't put your headphones on, so I couldn't read books or anything. And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, can you teach me what they do? So then he's like, why? You get to be there, dude. This too much, this is hard work. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. And so he started teaching me, and it was really good. I have a lot of respect for him because, he patiently taught me everything. And then I was doing, the work that the boys were doing. And then he was having other people flag. They had the morning construction guys and then the night ones. And you have to have a minimum amount of females there. And I had just gotten back from Colombia. So I was trying to get my apartment and, to live with baby. She was living with her father for a few months before I got the place. So I was trying to pull money together because you got to put, at least 3 months. So I took both shifts. And I remember that in the morning shift, sometimes my eyes were crossing from being so tired. And he was really kind. And I know a few times he was like, go sit in the car and take a little nap, before you come out, because could be dangerous. You're too tired. I don't think he understood the necessity that I had because he got mad at me. Sorry, Steve. At the end for doing double shifts, but it was really me and the necessity of needing those extra bucks to be able to move baby in with me. So
and the purpose behind that part of it is you're willing to. A lot of people are like, okay, I'll be on welfare or whatever else. You're like, you know what? I'm a single mom. I'm not going to sell out my body to, or even be in an unhappy relationship just to be able to make things easier there. I'm going to work construction on bridges, double shift if that's what I have to be able to provide for my little girl and be the best mom that I can be.
Yeah. And it was worth it to me, and I can always look at my daughter in her eyes and in her face and teach her integrity because this is what I've shown her,
No, I want to actually back up about 1.5 years. I want the audience to know your heart, because you and I met because you were on a charity mission in Haiti, but that wasn't your first charity. Tell me about what was going on in Colombia and a little bit about the charity that you were doing there and how that worked.
So, sure. And my mother was always a giver. So I think this giving, feeling that I've always had came from her. But like I said before, I used to send baby to Colombia or go with her and put her in school there so she could learn the language. And I would put her in swimming lessons and stuff. One day she's at a clubhouse where she's taking her swimming lessons. And the teacher goes, hey, have you ever been to Boca Chica? And I'm like, no. what is it? Yeah, we got one of the still standing forts, where that the Spaniards built to keep the city protected. And I was like, no. He goes, oh, let me know when you want to go. I said, we can go after class. So we went after class, and it was Boca Chica, an island called Boca Chica right outside of Cartagena. And this island didn't have running water or running electricity. And it was a very poor island. The houses were made pretty much like just like putting things together. There was nothing, like really poor. And they had one school for the whole island. And we went to the forts. He went and introduced me to his families. Then we went to the fort. By the time we come back, his family had gone fishing, fried a few fish, and had some lunch for us. And inside of me, I'm thinking, they don't know me. Like they literally just met me, and I thought it was so nice for them to go out and go fishing and make a whole meal for my daughter, my nephew, and myself, without knowing us. I thought it was really heart touching. And then we went to sit in one of it wasn't really the house. It was a house for them. And we sat outside on top of rocks and we're eating, and I'm looking at them, and they don't have like cement floors. They don't have tiles. It's really, really poor, like really poor. And there was something that I'll never forget. The husband told the wife to go get some beers for us, and she goes in and she has maybe 4 teeth altogether. And as she's walking into the house to get the beers, he spanks her in the butt, and she gives him this cute, sensual, beautiful, loving look. And he looks back at her and blows her a kiss, and she goes in and comes back out. And I'm like, holy shit, like these people are happy. They have nothing and they're happy. I was still married. This scene that I just told you is actually what drove me to decide to get divorced. So this trip did a lot of things for me. It showed me what real happiness is. We think, oh, the more we have, the happier we are. No, they had nothing. And the way that this guy spanked that lady's butt and the way she looked at him, I was like, I want that in my life. Seriously. And so I left there, and the kids, they're not clothes. They're just in the underwear, no shoes, eating fresh mangoes, eating fresh fruit. And I fell in love with this island. And I came back and I was like, I want to help them. Like, I love them. And so I started making flyers and putting together fundraisers. And I wasn't raising money. I was raising, hey, whatever you're going to throw out, whether it's clothes or sheets or cups or things in the kitchen, in the house, anything, any household things that you're going to throw out, shoes, anything, I'll take them. And ever since then, part of my, you get 2 weeks vacation if you're working daytime. Part of my every year vacation was to make a trip to go bring this island, clothing and sheets and whatever I could. Until one year I went, and it was supposed to be school season, and a lot of kids were playing around. And I said, well, how come they're not in school? And my friend told me, because I started going, every time I went, I visited the island, I became friends with them. And my friend said, because the parents can't afford the school supplies. So the kids, and the uniforms, so the kids can't go to school. And to me, I was like, how are they ever supposed to grow from poverty if they can't even attend school because of this? So the next year, I did a fundraiser for school supplies. And I went there and we gave all the kids from the island school supplies, and it was a whole adventure. So I'm not going to go into the details, but it was so, so beautiful to me to have been able to bring them, what they needed in order for them to at least go to school and get an education.
Tell us the story of the boy with the daddy's shoes.
So, yeah. So we go to the school, and I wanted to bring this before they started school, but I wasn't able to get days off before they started. So we went in like the second week that they were already in school. And one of the teacher comes, I believe his name was Juan Carlos. And she comes with this little boy. He must have been maybe 6 or 7. And she's holding his hand, and she tells me that he wants to tell me something. And he wanted to say thank you. So he hadn't been to school the entire, this was the first day that he went to school because he didn't have shoes or school supplies to go to school. But he heard that we were going to bring school supplies for them. So he had these shoes that were like an adult's shoes, and they were all broken and ripped. And he hadn't shown up to school because he didn't have shoes, and the sun was too strong in the morning. So it burned his feet. So it was too hard for him to walk to school. But that day he borrowed his daddy's shoes so he can pick up the school supplies that we were giving away. So that was really special. So
such a beautiful heart.
So yeah, every single kid is worth it, like, and you come to think about it, so easy sometimes for them to be just in a different situation, like school supplies. With the amount of money that it costs to buy school supplies in Colombia, with $20, you can buy them the books and the pencils they need. And it makes such a big difference for them to get an education, And so, like, this island for me, I kept going every year because it was like a grounding to me. Right after that, I separated and got divorced. And I kept going there because it was always a reminder to me to be grateful for what I do have, And every time that I've been in a situation where I think things are not fair or whatever, my go-to is go do some charity. And that's how we met, because the year that we met, I was having a hard time and I couldn't do my own fundraiser. And so I had a friend, and he was doing Jack Brewer. He has the Jack Brewer Foundation, and he was doing charity work, a medical charity mission in Haiti. And I got asked to go, and I was like 100% in. And I was like, well, to me, it was like, I have so many things to do, 2 weeks of not working. But by then I knew that this was going to bring me the fuel I needed for things. Every time I did charity, just life seemed so much better. I don't know if it was my lens and my perspective, because you can really focus on being grateful for what you have. Or I don't know if God just makes everything better after you do charity as a thank you for doing charity, because you always say that. But it always felt good to do charity. And whenever I could, I took baby with me. And, she loves doing it. She has the hugest heart. So when I met you, it was tough times, and I needed to reground my lens, to adjust my lens. And I knew that doing some charity work was going to help me do that. And so we went to Haiti, and we opened up a clinic, Jack, for a woman's clinic, got a house that fit 40 kids, to house them for a year. And we saw over 250 kids that were seeing a doctor for the first time. It was so sad. Like, some kids had scars in them, and because they didn't put any antibacterial, they would dry in weird shapes. And these are people that live in the mountains and don't know any better. And they thought that it was like witchcraft that the little babies had, because, it would get dry and heal in weird shapes and stuff. So, there's so much that I didn't have anything special. And, I'm nobody special. Every single one of us can make a difference. Even if, we think that, it takes a lot to make a difference. No. Even you smiling at somebody on the street that looks sad, can make a difference. Or giving somebody a sandwich, when they're hungry. Or just I love what Stacy does. We have a friend, Stacy, that cooks meals every day, gourmet meals for the homeless people. And I admire that about her, because and any, what you do, risking your life, to go save children that will have never known who you are. You never got to meet them. And how many of those missions, could have cost you your life, because you were in a lot of positions that were dangerous. I find it so silly today, and I can't engage when people are like, they're complaining about what the neighbor said, or what this one wore, or who gives a shit, man?
We had a neighbor in our old house. We've since moved and sold it, but we had just got back from this mission. We were in Latin America, and these poor kids are being sold, and so our whole focus was this charity work. And we came back, and our car was out parked in front of the house, and our neighbor decided to file a report with the HOA and write us up and charge us like $350 fine and whatever. Why? Because our car was blocking her view of her sunset. And now, granted, she paid $1 million for her piece of property to build her $2 million home on top of that so she could have a pretty view of the sunset. But to put it really into perspective as to what's really important in life, unfortunately, and I will say this, I'm not going to judge her because she was going through with some crap in her life. Yeah. She was in a difficult marriage that was going into, and these things we didn't even know at the time, and so to judge here, no, I don't want to be the one judging her, but we all have to take a look at what's really important in life and what other people are going through that we may be in our little bubble that won't even pay attention to what's going on there. So what I'm going to do, because we have so much beautiful information, I actually want to break this up into 2 podcasts.
Okay.
And so this podcast was all about getting to know you and your beautiful heart and your life before we got together. And we can have whole entire depths into each one of those subjects. But then the next one, I want to go into talking about how we met, the charity work, building the foundation. There's so many more beautiful things. So thank you. Thank you for spending some time with us today on the Liberating Humanity podcast. You've got to meet the light of my life, the most important person to me, my beautiful, amazing, supportive wife, Hada Vanessa. And it was so beautiful to get to know you over the last number of years and to have the audience understand why my whole life is supported by such a wonderful woman and why I decided to dedicate my life to running together with her in building the foundation, the Child Liberation Foundation, and in working to truly liberate all of humanity. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the Liberating Humanity podcast. If you enjoyed it, which I hope you did, as much as I did, just getting to hear all of her stories again, share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your families. Let's grow this, and then together, let's make this world a better place. Thank you.